Hi, and welcome back to another AnyRPG Development Livestream. In these videos, I livestream the development of the AnyRPG Engine, a 100% free and open source role-playing game engine designed in Unity and written in C#. These videos are unscripted and give you a chance to take a behind-the-scenes look at the unfiltered, methodical side of software development. For more information on AnyRPG, be sure to check out AnyRPG.org, where you can find documentation on the engine, links to the full source code at the official GitHub repository, and downloadable versions of AnyRPG Alpha, a free game designed to showcase the features of the AnyRPG engine. If you would like to see more of this type of content in the future, be sure to like the videos, subscribe to the Cohesion YouTube channel, or just leave a message in the comments telling me what you would like to see. In today's episode, we will be continuing our work on the Unity package, and for our Unity package we will need to create some scriptable objects and some prefabs. In the last episode we went through and we created a whole pile of icons like this so that we could have some sample icons that we owned in the engine. And now we have an example scene, and I also figured out the issue with the export and what was happening at the end of the last episode. So in essence it works like this. If I take a scene in Unity and I tell it to export, or if I take a folder in Unity and I tell it to export the package, and if I have include dependencies checked like this, then it'll basically include every single C# script in the game regardless of whether or not you actually use it. If I uncheck include dependencies, then we don't get any of the dependencies of anything inside of this folder right here. So the way to do it is to select the dependencies first, and then you can actually get the correct list. So let me just demonstrate that here. So if I take my example load game manager here and I right click on it here and go select dependencies, then after a little while here I will get a proper list of all the dependencies. So that's this list over here. And now if I right click on this list here and I choose export package, I still need to uncheck this include dependencies box, but you'll see that rather than just getting the stuff in the engine folder, I got the dependencies that were coming out of the content folder as well. So this is good because it means that I can continue to keep references to all of the third-party content that I'm using in these like these import folders here, or these used external content folders here. And then that lets me know basically all the third-party content that I have in here when I need to credit people for what was released, as well as seek permission if I can or if I want to redistribute this stuff in a Unity package as an example. So looking at the dependencies of our example game manager right now, actually let me just show you what I did since the last episode. In the last episode, when I ended it, everything went kind of wonky and Unity just went off and started doing something strange. And I figured out that what it had done is it had basically taken everything I'd selected and it had copied it into the UMA folder and then it'd copy the UMA folder with all of these new contents back into itself. So I basically had like 2 UMA folders with 3 copies of every asset and prefab in my game in it. I ended up actually having to like just delete the entire UMA folder and re-download and re-import UMA in order to fix everything. After that, I ended up discovering that my game manager, my example game manager, was still pulling in dependencies from the non-example game manager. So if we go up into alpha here, I've actually moved that out into here. And so what we have now is in the engine, we have a game manager prefab. And this one should basically never be touched. And then over in alpha, we have a prefab variant. So all of the settings for alpha right here are in this prefab manager. And then when we go over to our example folder here and go in there, we've got a prefab variant for the example stuff. Of course, the example stuff is the default stuff, so there's not really much change there. But what this allows for is when we select the dependencies of the scene, this example load game manager scene that the example game manager prefab variant is in, it will only select the icons that are in use in the prefab variant. If we are referencing the base prefab rather than a prefab variant, then every single scene that uses that base prefab, if it has overrides in it, they'll actually be pulled in as dependencies even though we didn't select that scene. So it's important to make a prefab variant, because I think the way that Unity is handling this internally is the prefab variant basically stores all the information, so it's not considered a direct dependency of the prefab itself. But when you do a prefab override in a scene, I don't think it stores the override information with the scene. I think it actually stores it with the prefab itself, even though it only applies to the scene, which is why it gets pulled in as a dependency. So what we want to do now basically is we want to create example assets for everything that we see pulled in here out of the alpha folder, as well as coming out of the used external content folders, at least like as much as we can. And these are basically coming from those abilities and spells. So what we want to do is just start copying this stuff and replace it all, instead of with spell effects. Yeah, you'll see a bunch of the spell effects, I think, down here somewhere, a few of them anyway. Instead of having those spell effects in the game, we'll just make like some sample cubes and stuff like that. So to start here, in the engine, we've got some materials and we've got some basic colors, and we're pretty much just gonna need to make a bunch of basic color prefabs that we can apply to our cubes and such. So that's an unlit black material, and let's make a regular black material. You know what? Let's rename that to any black material unlit. This is the black material that we're using for the character creator prefab, and we want it unlit so that the lights don't bounce off of it. So we'll rename that to AnyRPG black material and just set the shader to standard. And that looks okay. And then we don't need a mission on that. And then basically we want to create a bunch of these. So we'll need like a red material, pretty much all the colors of the rainbow. So let's just make a bunch of these. So let's go for blue material. And then we need a green material. And then we should get yellow material. And then we need white material. And let's make a violet material as well. Okay, I think that'll do for now. I can always make more of these basic colors if we need to. So I think we're just going to keep these basic colors with the engine because they're really simple and they don't really take up much space. But the prefabs we make will definitely be part of the example folder. So in that list of assets, or I mean, the easiest way to do this is just to go into the example game manager and right here. So these abilities right here, we have a level up ability. So we're going to rename this one to example level up. And that means we'll need to create a resources folder under the examples folder, which we've got, and we'll create a base ability direct under there. Okay, and we will call that example level up. For the ability icon, AnyRPG. No, I think we just called it sample, yeah. Sample level icon, looks good. And then we have a bunch of ability effects in our regular one, but realistically to demonstrate this, we only need one in our example one. So this level up star explosion here, we're gonna copy that, call it example level up effect. We'll just take the sound out of there for now. And for the icon, we're going to choose sample level icon. And then for the prefab, we'll change that out. We just have to make a prefab for it though. So I will move the example level up effect, but we've got to make a good folder for it. Ability effect, direct, no. Ability effect instant. So under our resources folder, we'll make a folder called ability effect. And we'll make a folder called instant. And then we'll move our example level up effect into there. Okay, good. Now, for our star explosion, that is located under Prefabs particles. So we'll put ours under Prefabs. They're not really particles. They're already in the example folder. Let's just call it shapes, because we're just going to make basically primitive shapes. So what we need is can I get it off of this menu? I don't know if I can just directly create an object here. No, I guess I have to create it in the scene. Yeah, okay. So we'll just create a simple sphere. Let's just pull the scene window over here so we can see it. Perfect. And 1 by 1 by 1 is good. We'll set the position to 0, 0, 0. And we are not going to need a collider on this one. And the material we will change to AnyRPG yellow. And then we're going to rename that to AnyRPG yellow sphere. And 1 meter. Then we will pull that into our shapes folder. Perfect. And then we can make a bunch of copies of that because we have a bunch of colors. And how many colors did we have here? We had basic colors. 1 black, blue, green, red. So we just need like 7 spheres pretty much. So 1 more. Okay. So we'll just set all the names up here. And basically what these spheres are going to do is they're going to serve as our spell effect prefabs, so we can make like sample fireballs and stuff that are just really simple spheres. And let's see, this is one of these is unlit. Yeah, that's the unlit. We want the regular one. And finally our green sphere. Oh, you know what else? I need a gray sphere and a brown sphere. So let's go make some materials for that. Yeah, that looks good. And then we need a brown one too. And brown is usually it's like a darker shade of sort of yellow or orangey. I don't know if that looks brown enough or not. Yeah, that looks. I think that looks pretty good. That's kind of muddy brown looking. Okay, and then make some spheres for those as well. So, AnyRPG gray. And AnyRPG brown. Okay, good. So now that we have all our spheres, we can take that out of the scene there. And then let's go back to our example level up effect here. And instead of the star explosion, we're just going to do a yellow sphere. So there we go. And then we want to go into the example game manager here. And our level up ability is instead going to be example level up. And we're actually going to apply that to the game manager prefab. Actually, you know what, technically, I guess it's fine for that. Yeah, okay. That's fine. Death Skull next. So our death ability, and this is an ability that plays on death. I don't know if I've actually demonstrated that one yet, but it's kind of neat. You have like this little green skull that appears, but we need to replace that prefab. So death skull, we're going to duplicate that basically. And let's see, example death. Yeah, because it's not really going to be a skull, it's just going to be like a sphere. And then move that down into the prefabs of the example folder here. And it's a directability. And then we're just going to call that example death. And we have a sample die icon, I think. Yeah, sample die icon. And then the ability effect, death skull. That's another instant effect, so we're going to duplicate that. And just call it example death. And move it down to the example folder. And same thing, just use the sample die icon. We won't do any audio clips for it. And in this case, the prefab is going to be the AnyRPG black sphere 1 meter. Okay, and then let's just make sure that example level up, yeah, that needs to call example level up effect. And then example death needs to call example death effect. And then we can go into our game manager here and set this to example death. And apply that to our game manager prefab directly. And then loot sparkle ability. Okay. This one we will duplicate that and call that example loot sparkle. And this is another direct, so we'll move it down into the direct folder here. And we have a loot icon here. And the lootable status effect, we'll make a copy of that as well. And we need a status effects directory under the ability effect directory here. And we'll move the example lootable down into there. And we'll change that to our sample loot icon. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the prefab, just the AnyRPG white sphere, and it's just going to float 1 meter over top of the unit in this case. And then we can go back to here, example loot sparkle, and set that to example lootable. Now we can go back into the game manager, change that to example loot sparkle, and set that as the default for our base prefab. Do white damage ability. So we will call that example white hit. And this is another direct ability. The subfolders don't really matter, it's only these top level folders that matter, but I like to keep these organized anyway, so that's why they're all getting their own subfolders. And I think we have a hit as well, so sample hit icon. And this regular white hit. We can duplicate that and call that example white hit. And this is an instant effect, so down into the instant effect folder. And in this case, the ability effect is going to be the white sphere again. And then we need to go up to the white hit and change that to our example white hit. Okay, and then we can go back into our game manager here and swap that out for example white hit. We're just going to remove the default hit sound effect. And then we need to duplicate take damage blood. And we'll call that example take damage blood. It's just be one giant red blood drop, the sphere. And that will go under the direct folder. And sample red icon, sure. And then there's an effect associated with it, and that's a take damage blood, so that gets called example take damage blood effect. We are going to remove the audio clip from it as well. And instead of a blood squirt, it's just going to be a nice boring red sphere. And that one also goes down into the instant effect folder down here. And then we can go to its associated direct effect and directability, and set the effect on it. And then back into our game manager and take damage blood. Use example take damage blood, set that as our default. And now let's see what else we need to do here. So now we need to go check again and see, you know what, there might be like a revive ability here. Okay, well, let's take a look anyway. So our example game manager, we can just right click on that and just go select dependencies. And we'll see how many of those other prefabs we managed to get rid of there. Right now, if I go export package, it'll put all these things in a nicely organized view. And uncheck that. Okay, great. So the blood squirt's gone from up there. Crafter. And then two-handed sword animations. Unarmed attacks. Okay. So what I'm seeing right here, we've got a bunch of these icons that are still being pulled in, and these aren't actually being used anywhere because I've replaced most uses of them with words that have, with names that have AnyRPG as a prefix on them. The UI, that totally makes sense. We are absolutely, that UI is like a vital part of our thing. The engine stuff, of course, we need all of that, so that's all fine. And now our prefabs are coming nicely out of the example folder like we expect them to. And standard assets, that's totally fine as well. Text Mesh Pro, Liberation font, that's good also. And then UMA, we'll be including the entire UMA folder. So basically, all we have to do is go in and figure out like where this stuff here is being referenced. And unfortunately, it's not as easy as you would think. So if I type in, say for example, T11 pickaxe here, let's just try that. And if I click on this T11 pickaxe, and if I right click on it and I go select dependencies, I am not going to get anything, like it's just itself. So that's not really very helpful. So the only other thing I think that we can do here is we can go find references in scene. Now this is actually going to come back with some results. But the thing is that the results that it comes back with are not fantastically accurate. For example, if I click on this previous button right here, it has AnyRPG shape 31, style 1, color 8. But it literally has 0 references to that T11 pickaxe, which was the one that I clicked on. So I'm not really sure like what that command is supposed to do, because much like that other select dependencies command that you can check it, and rather than choosing just the dependencies for what you've got, it just brings in everything in the project. It's almost like this does a similar thing, like it just brings in like everything in the project rather than that last thing. It's like it's ignoring actually even like right up to, yeah, anyway. So you can see like it's not in any of these things, and I can just keep on going down and look at them all, and you can see the source image over here is always just set to like none. So I think we're going to have to sort of manually go through and try to figure out exactly like where those references are coming from. So we can start with the achievement window here, and I know the achievement window, we've got an achievement panel. It's actually all of these panels I should probably take a look through. If we have our ability book panel here and we flip it into 2D mode, there we go. So we can see our ability book button somewhere in here. Let's open up that prefab and look at the button, and we have Fire Furious. So we can change that to sample fire icon. And let's just go through and see if there's any other images in use here. No, it doesn't look like it. So if we go back, now the ability book is using our sample icons there. Let's take a look at the achievement panel as well. So our achievement button is referencing those stars here. So if we open up our achievement button prefab, then we can swap that out for, do I not have a sample star icon? Well, let's fix that. I don't think I had sample blood icons either. And luckily blood fits within our parameters of 5 letters. And then for this one, we'll just need to reposition that a little bit and export that. Okay, and then we have icons here in the engine, so we can just go import new asset and grab the blood and the star. And then just set their type to sprite and set that to trilinear and no compression. Good, now going back to the achievement button, we can go to the button here, set this image to sample star, and now our achievement panel is properly showing our nice sample icons there. So we want to go back to the folder where that came from, and that was in our engine folder under our window contents. So let's just go through, check our bank panel. Doesn't look like we've got any images in there. Let's open up our character creator panel. That one looks fine. if we open up our character panel, that's good. We already have our new ones in there. There's no images in the combat log or the confirm anything panels. Let's just take a look at the crafting panel. Ah, there we go. Okay. So our default description here there we go. Scroll open red. Okay, so do I have paper icon? I don't. Well, let's make a paper icon then. And then let's import that. And set its type to sprite with trilinear filtering and no compression. And then I can replace that with sample paper. And then we have the materials area down here. And we need to change out all of these icons as well. I think currently I still have like a hard-coded limit of 5 materials. I'll eventually change that, but for now we can just control-click to grab all of the icon buttons, and we can change that out for a sample item icon. Okay, so that's good. Our crafting panel looks like it's okay. So let's go back into our window contents and check our currency panel. And our sample buttons on our currency panel need to be changed as well. So this button over here has some gold, so we can use our sample gold icon. And dialog doesn't have any buttons. You know what, this is dialog window. Interesting, that needs to go into frames because windows are frames. And then our exits don't have any. Faction change might have some example stuff on it. Yeah, okay. So this sample faction button right here, we'll just change that out for the sample loyal icon. And we have some sample reward buttons down here. I don't know if we can, if I click, no, that doesn't work. Okay. I got opening these all up manually, it looks like. And then if I click on all their icons and just highlight them, that's where all the picks were coming from. Okay, good. So these will just be sample magic icons. And that looks okay. So then main menu doesn't have anything. Interaction panel might. I'm not sure. Let's just check here. No, it doesn't look like it. Okay. So the keybind confirm doesn't have anything. Load game doesn't. Loot panel may have some example stuff. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So we need to just change out these icons, all 4 of those. And instead of potion huge red, we can just use sample item icon. And let's see, map doesn't, main menu doesn't, settings doesn't, minimap doesn't, name change, that one doesn't either. New game and player death are all like system stuff. Player options doesn't. Quest details area. Yeah, here we go. So we have, let's open up reward icon here. Yeah, so we have an icon in there. And we need to swap that out. So we'll use the sample skill icon. Actually, these are the item rewards, so let's use the sample item icon. And it looks like the rest of these are not prefabbed, so we'll change all those too. Then we also have a whole pile of ability reward buttons. Reward icon prefab. We may not even need all these things. I think we just instantiate these dynamically for like pretty much everything. Let me just check that, because if we do, we can just delete all those other sample buttons rather than changing all the icons on them. Yeah, we use it for item rewards, for ability rewards, for faction rewards, and for skill rewards, which is all the types of rewards we have. Perfect. So we can just get rid of like all those and all those. Those were just there so that when I was creating this thing originally, that I would have something to test the spacing with, and then I made them all into prefabs after I was done testing that. So it doesn't really matter what we'll use here, just sample item is okay. I wonder, do we have sample reward? Nah. Okay, sample item's fine. Okay, and then we need to go back into our panels here. And that was the quest details. Quest giver, let's look at that. I think we're going to have the same sort of thing here. Yeah, we've got a couple of reward buttons. Oh no, okay, cool. It's just got a quest details area, so that's fine because we already just changed the quest details area. Let's see if the quest log panel has anything in it. It'll be on the right pane. And same deal, quest details area, awesome. So we don't need to do anything because it's already been done. Quest tracker doesn't have anything on it. Reputation book may have some sample icons. Yeah, okay. So in our reputation book, we've got these faction buttons. Let's go in here, and this is faction. So we can just change that to loyal, I guess. Okay, good. And then let's see, skill book. Yeah, we got these eyes in here. So we need to change our skill book buttons here. Okay, and then let's see if our skill trainer, that one looks okay. System bar looks okay. Just check our bag buttons here. They all look fine too. Our vendor panel looks okay. All the prices are good. And we don't have any icons on our XP bar. So let's just go check our buttons here. I think these are all okay. Actually, you know what? Let's just see how much stuff we managed to get rid of from those third-party dependencies. So we'll go back to our example load game manager and select dependencies. And then if we right click on that and choose export package, oh right, I've already got one of those windows open. I guess it would help if I close that and try that again. Export package. Uncheck include dependencies. Still, I gotta figure out where that's coming from. Okay, good. So we got rid of a whole pile of stuff here. We just have these two left here. And these guys too. Everything else looks okay. So I would need to try to figure out where this spellbook preface is. So let's just, I doubt this is going to do much good, but we can look for it here. Spellbook preface 12. And then let's see if I hit select dependencies. No, nothing there. Now, if I go find references and scene, it's probably not going to come back with accurate results, but maybe that's actually not bad. Those results are a lot better than the spam that we had for the other one. And these are actually places where something like that would be used, because they would be like a picture of a spell. Let's try opening up the unit frame status effect bar here. And I don't see it. let's go into the base game manager. Okay, so if we look at our base game manager, these are all of our cast bars here. And they look like they've got the proper things on them. I wonder what happens if I go like find references in scene. Interesting. So it's saying the UI manager is referencing it. That might be like an indirect reference. Interesting. Combat text. You know what? Combat text prefab has an image in it. Let's open that up. Nope, the image is set to nothing. So I guess that's not it. I'm not really sure where it is in here, so let's try looking for it again. So let's go to the status effect bar here. And we have a status effect node here. Ah, there we go. Okay. So if we go into here, and we can change that. Sample spell icon. There we go, that's better. Okay, that's one of them. Let's go back down to the example load game manager and see if there was any more references of that thing anywhere. Whoa. No, that's kind of interesting. So the no, okay, we still have it. Well, I guess we have to keep looking. So we'll go back to Spellbook Preface 12 and try find references in scene again. Let's try looking in these unit frames. And we'll just look through it, I guess. let's try the nameplate status effect node. Did I already look at one of those? Ah, there we go. So we have one there. Okay, that's a little better. And let's try searching for references again. Let's see what the difference is. Okay, that's good news. Our list came back empty. So let's go back to example load game manager, select dependencies, and maybe the leaf will be gone from our list this time. $519 objects, that's good. We had 520 last time. Okay, good. So now we need to find out where book D close is. So we'll click on book D close and find references in scene. Oh, right, in the load game window. Yes, that's actually accurate, I think, because in our load game window here, let's go into 2D mode. That's interesting. Let's look at our system interface here, system menu. Ah, there, load game panel. Okay. I think it's in our load game panel here because we have some load game buttons, and when those buttons show up, they have an icon. There it is. So book D closed. Do we have a book icon? Let's see. Good, sample book icon, sure. Actually, you know what? This is the faction, so... Oh, right, I remember. The book was because that book had a question mark on it, and that was basically if the system didn't recognize the faction, it would just put a question mark there. So that's good. We got rid of that one. So let's go back to our example load game manager and select its dependencies again. Okay, that was weird. Well, we still have 519 objects. I'm gonna try that again because that was not what I expected. Last time we did this, it showed us a giant list there, I think. Yeah, there, that's better. Okay, now it's still 519, so I think that means we've still got a reference to that book somewhere. Yeah, we do. Okay. So let's go back and look at the book. and find references in the scene again. Resource managers. Oh, neat. Okay, system faction manager, book declose. Sure. Sample loyal icon is the one we want to use. And that gets applied directly to the game manager. Okay, so let's click on example load game manager and select dependencies again, and hopefully we get 518 this time. $518 objects, that's good. So we'll go export package and just confirm which third-party assets we've still got references to. Okay, T_16_message. Let's find references in the scene here. Interaction window. So we do. Somehow we've got references. So it's through one of these things. I think it's the interaction panel. And it's likely the interaction panel option. Yeah, because these are buttons here. Okay, so the interaction panel option and the interaction panel quest. We'll want to take a look at both of those. There it is. Quest text. So this image right here, if it's quest text, and this is an interaction panel option, so we can just do, I don't know, sample sample talk, sure, why not, that works. And then we also had the interaction panel quest here. We'll want to open that one up. No image there. Okay. Let's go back to the example load game manager and just see if that got rid of that one option. $517. I think that's good news because we had 518 last time. So if we hit export package and then uncheck include dependencies. Okay, good. So the only one that I care about is this one right here, the T17 message points. So then we can find references to that in the scene. Interesting. So it's going to be basically a sub-reference from here. And It's likely one of these ones. Although which one I'm really not sure. I guess like the only thing to do really is just keep looking through here. Wasn't the pop-up panel container? Let's see. Those message points are in dialog. That's the only place to really look used. So let's take a look at our dialog panel. No, not that. Meant that they're used in the dialog on the interaction panel. Actually, you know where else they might be used? The nameplate above the character. Because we already looked through these two guys, so let's see. I think the UI manager actually does include a reference to the nameplate thing somewhere. Yeah, we've got a reference to the nameplate canvas, but nothing there. So let's see the nameplate. If we open this up, it has a generic indicator background with an image. There it is, message points. Okay, so this should be sample talk icon. Okay, and let's try that now and see if we can go back to our example load game manager, and we right click and choose select dependencies. $516. Good. So if we choose export package now, okay. I kind of want to see where these animations are coming from. Actually, this thing too, this highlight fade, because we're not actually using this highlight fade at all. So I'm interested. Let's just see the highlight fade animations. See if we can find any references to that in the scene. Okay, load game window, sure. Nothing in there. So it was likely through the character creator panel. And there we go. This highlight line has an animator on it. Okay, let's just see how many highlight lines there are in here. This highlight line, it had an animator on it. We're not actually using it, so for anything that we're not really using, it's probably better to just remove it. Like, there's no point in just including extra stuff like that in the package. So let's see if that got rid of it or if we've got more references anywhere. It looks like we may have more references. Let's try to export that again and see if we're still getting that. Yeah, we are. Okay. So we'll look for that highlight fade again and try find references in scene. Okay, and our load game window is still referring to that, so it must be in our load game panel. And it's going to be basically like one of these buttons probably has an animator on it somewhere. Let's try opening one of those load game button prefabs here. There we go. Okay, so we can remove the animator from there. Okay, let's try that again. Go back to the example load game manager. Select dependencies. We may still have a reference to it somewhere. Yeah, okay. We didn't get rid of all the references apparently. So let's see, highlight fade. Just gonna select dependencies for that. Or find references, I mean. Nothing, okay. Oops, okay, let's try that again. And nothing. Okay. So let's open up the base game manager and try to find references in there. Maybe we had like an override. Nope, nothing. was odd. Okay, let's try that again. Because the program, like, it froze up for a little bit. And when I tried to click on something else, it's like it was still searching there. No, okay, so that's strange because basically when we click on the example load game manager and we choose select dependencies, it comes up with that list. And if we go export packages, and then we can see it in there. But then when we try to find references to it in the scene, it comes back empty. So that really doesn't make any sense to me, because basically on one hand the program is telling us, yes, there is a dependency to this, and if you select all the dependencies of that scene, it's in there. But then when we actually search the scene and say, hey, where is this dependency that you told us was in there, it says, no, that doesn't exist in here. Not very intuitive at all. So I don't really know where I should be looking for that. I guess I mean, I can just start like randomly looking through buttons, I suppose. Because basically that animation comes from highlight buttons. And all of our buttons, quite a few of them, I mean, had those like highlight line backgrounds on them. So the animator was attached to things with highlight line buttons. So there's a highlight, but it's not used. And the animator was usually on the highlight itself, I think. So these are all cancel button variants. I really don't know where those things are, because unfortunately, like, Unity's really not doing a good job at telling us right now. It's telling us that we have them as dependencies, but then when we try to use what you would think would be the right way to find it, then it can't find it. And so, much like with the other elements, we're just left sort of guessing here where it might be. Yeah, really not obvious at all. Okay. I mean, I guess we could look through like panels that used to have highlight buttons in them. Okay, let's see which panels would have had highlight buttons in them. The character creator panel definitely would have. So I guess we can look through that. Yeah, no animators though. I wonder if I just go to type and I look for animator. Okay, you know what? Let's open up something I know has an animator on it. Our default UMA player unit, I think, has an animator on it. Yeah, we do. Okay, perfect. So I have type and I type animator. Okay, that's good. I get the default UMA player unit. So I think we can take advantage of this fact to more quickly search our window contents by just jumping through all of them in a row and looking for animator components. Because I'm fairly certain, haha, look at that. Character panel has a bunch of them and it's all on highlight lines. Great. So you guys can all lose your highlight lines. Or, I mean, the animator components of them. Okay, awesome. So that is a way to find this stuff. I'm just going to keep on looking through all of these. Gotcha. Oh, nice. Found a couple more of them hiding on the quest giver panel. And one on the quest log panel too. And to on the skill trainer panel. Okay, that's good. So let's go back now because we've searched all of our panels and select dependencies and see if we got rid of all the references of those animators yet. Ooh, 514, that's good news. I think we were at 516 last time, so let's just go to Export Package. Uncheck Include Dependencies, Fold Animations, and nice. Okay, good. So the animations from the Slim UI are gone now, so that's good. Okay, that looks like a pretty good list. Now I'm actually just curious still where these ones are coming from. So let's see if we can figure that out. RPG character, two-handed sword attack kick. That's weird. It's not showing up. Oh, RPG dash character, that's why. Okay. Okay, so for this one, let's see if we can figure out where the reference in the scene is to that. Okay, according to this, once again, it's trying to tell us there are no references to it in the scene, but it's still going to include it for some reason. And that must mean that there's a reference to it from some other thing that we're using. Now those two-handed sword attacks basically are used as part of animation profiles. So if we look at these animation profiles right here, we've got this two-handed sword profile. But this is part of the alpha content, and we didn't see the two-handed sword profile anywhere in the inclusion list. So if those references to those animations were coming through our two-handed sword profile, we would have expected to see that being pulled in. And I don't see that. And because Unity's not giving us any references to it in the scene, it's a little bit confusing where it's coming from. So if we look at our controller here, we're only referencing unarmed attacks. Our override controller references our character animation controller, so that doesn't seem like the kind of place they'd be coming from. The really interesting thing is, like, I'm not actually using those copies of the animation anywhere in the game, and I know I'm not because, like, I made my own copies of them. So that's actually really confusing that it seems to think that they are somehow a dependency of this thing. Yeah, see, you can see right here, the unarmed attacks, these make sense because I have a character controller that is referencing all this stuff right here. So the AnyRPG copies of it, or I mean the sword, but actually that doesn't even really make sense because because I'm not, like, I have no references in the scene to two-handed swords. So there shouldn't be any way for those, like, for these to be connected to that scene at all. The game manager, like, itself, we don't store information on that in there. Now these things right here, like especially these roles, I know, like, I'm totally not using roles in any of my controllers. So that almost indicates to me, like, and that, like, I don't understand too, because you'd figure if we were getting these through an animation controller, we'd see the animation controller in here, but we don't. The only controller we see is this one, and the only attacks those ones have are the ones, like, it basically just contains this stuff right here, anything prefixed with any RPG. So for example, if we look at, like, that human unarmed attacks down here, oops, you can see they're all prefixed with AnyRPG. And we don't have references to roles in here anywhere. So like it doesn't seem like that would be the place they were coming from. If you look at the actual animation controller here, pull that out. Let's try pulling that out and then bringing it over so we can see it a little better. Our in combat movement here, all these things reference AnyRPG names, as we can see over here. This controller was like originally built off of another controller that used to have these things in it, but I mean, I can't see Unity keeping references to all that stuff that's gone and deleted out of here hidden in the controller somehow. So that doesn't really make sense. So let's keep looking through here. There's not going to be anything in the scripts directory. All of these abilities and effects have nothing to do with it. And there's nothing anywhere else in our import list that should be referencing these. That is just the absolute strangest thing. There are no references to these things anywhere yet. Somehow they're coming into our scene. And we do not include a two-handed sword attack in here. And even when we do, we include those versions of them. There are up here under animated attacks base abilities that once again only reference the AnyRPG versions of these. But we would see like this kind of stuff, like the icons being pulled in if these were included, and they're not because they're not a dependency of the scene. So the mystery remains, where are we getting those dependencies from? So the inventory manager shouldn't have any references to anything. We don't have any default inventory items. Our level manager doesn't have references to anything. Our input manager doesn't have references. Neither does our keybind manager, our save manager, our quest log. None of these things have references to anything that should reference any of those animations. This character preview unit has a reference to the AnyRPG character animation controller. We don't really need this thing anymore though, because we don't use it anymore. So I'm just going to get rid of that. Interesting, it says that it was missing. Okay. If we don't have UI elements visible, then we don't get our game manager going through and doing redraws on everything, so it's easiest just to keep those disabled. So let's see, the only thing I can think of is like our default player UMA unit. Let's just open up that prefab. Let's just see if there's anything in here. No, just the human unarmed attacks, which doesn't contain any sword attacks, and the AnyRPG character animation controller. I'm almost starting to suspect that Unity kept references to all of the old deleted animations in that animation controller, but I would actually have to do something to confirm that. And I think basically if I remove the default UMA player unit from the game manager's list of characters, it would be a pretty good way to rule that out. I might end up doing that here, because there's literally nothing else on here that could possibly reference anything. Yeah, I really just don't see how those things are coming in here. Let's just go back to the example load gain manager and just select dependencies again, because I did remove that broken UMA player unit, or that broken character preview unit. No, we still have 514 objects. only our single animator controller, and it's this one. But this animator controller has no reference at all and that's what I totally don't understand. It has no references at all to anything in that base folder, and especially nothing with swords. Okay. Well, since I'm pretty stumped here how we seem to be getting references, let's just try some desperate stuff here. So if we go into our example load game manager here, and maybe we just pull out our default player UMA unit. And then just for fun, we'll apply that to the game manager too. And then let's save the scene. And then let's go into our example load game manager, because now we definitely have no references to that animator controller. And then let's try selecting dependencies again. Okay, interesting. 394 objects. Let's try exporting the package and see what those objects are. Okay. We're no longer pulling in those animations. So that is extremely confusing. So let's go look at that default UMA player unit, because as soon as we removed this guy, we lost all references to those animations. But that doesn't make any sense at all. So let's figure out what was referencing those animations, because if we look in this character animator controller, you know what, why don't we just try selecting dependencies on that and see what we get. Oh, look at that. There they are. So unless I'm missing something like really obvious here, unless there's like a tiny little window of stuff hidden somewhere, I'm going to try pulling that out into its own window. And let's try maximizing that. Just looking around. I'm not sure how far you can scroll these for. It's kind of silly. It seems like you can scroll them indefinitely, which doesn't seem like the greatest sort of user design, as you could potentially hide stuff like 50 screens away, and there would be nowhere to find it. But apparently this animator, and we only have layers and parameters here, so I don't see any way to find, like, it seems to me like we have references inside this animator to things that don't exist anymore. Like lots of references to things that don't exist anymore. And I don't see a way. Okay, just a second. If we go, no, that's it. We just like base layer. I don't know, what's auto live link do? Is that a bad thing? So what happens if we go to unarmed? Nothing, I guess. We can't. Huh. Okay. Nope. Alright, I guess we gotta like pull that down to see what's going on there. So in combat jump, that's a new layer. So if we remove this, and then we have base layer and in combat jump. You know, I really feel like there's a hidden layer somewhere here. Like there was a layer, maybe there was a reference to it, and it just never got deleted, maybe? Because there's no way, like I'm trying to click the mouse and right click to see if we can get any more additional windows to show up to show us where these hidden animations might be. Because they're not there. These are all prefixed with AnyRPG. They're not there. These also all prefixed with AnyRPG. There's no way to get out of that blend tree to go anywhere else. This is unarmed stuff. This is also unarmed stuff. There's no two-handed anything there, and even if there was, it's not referencing RPG. It's referencing AnyRPG. There doesn't seem to be anything we can do over here to get this hidden references to show up. So I'm not really sure what to do from here. Let's see. We can create state, but we can't apparently search for states. I can zoom out as far as I can go, and there doesn't appear to be anything hidden anywhere here. So let's pull this off the screen, and I think right now it's Google time. I really do. I feel like this is like maybe a known issue. Unity Animator Controller keeping references to deleted layers. Nope. Okay. How about Unity Animation Controller keeping references to deleted animations? well, it's definitely not a cached reference. Okay. It looks like these guys are maybe not experiencing the same issue that I'm having. Let's try referencing unused animations. Maybe I'm just... no, it's... I mean, we know this is the issue. We've proven that basically this animator controller is referencing all of these other things, but it's really not obvious where it's referencing them from. Let's see. I don't know what this auto live link thing is, so let's look that up. It shows which state is currently being played. Okay, well that's not going to do anything then. So I think at this point, I think I'm just going to end the video for now. Looking at the clock, it looks like I've been trying to find these hidden or referenced animations in here for quite some time. Maybe let's just try one last desperate thing here. Maybe if we make a copy of the controller, then it might get rid of the references to the animations which are no longer in use. Let's see, show this in Explorer. 42 megs, okay. Let's try duplicating that. Does it do anything? Yeah, okay. It's frozen up, but it's duplicating it, I think. That's what the little spinning wheel means. Okay, good. So let's try showing that one in Explorer. And they're both 42 megs, so that definitely didn't get rid of anything. Maybe there's a right-click option like compress and remove references to things that clearly aren't in use anymore, but that doesn't exist either. So yeah, I think at this moment, this will probably be my third video I've ended now because Unity does something really strange, and I have to go look it up and try to figure out what it's doing, because there are no references to those animations anywhere, yet they're still being referenced somehow. So we'll end the video now, and as always, if you like this or you want to see more of this type of content in the future, then remember to subscribe to the Cohesion YouTube channel, or just leave a comment in the comments letting me know what you'd like to see. Thanks, and I will see you guys in the next episode after hopefully I figure out where those animations are getting referenced from.